You feel it sometimes, don't you? That strange shift in the air when you walk into a room, the way someone's voice softens when they say your name, the way their eyes hold on to you half a second longer than they should. You think it's coincidence. It's not. There is someone in your life right now, silently in love with you. And the first letter of their name will shock you, because it's not who you expect. It's not the obvious one. It's not the one who flirts loudly or posts heart emojis under your photos. It's the quiet one, the watcher, the one who feels more than they show. And tonight, you're going to see them clearly. Welcome to Female Code Unlocked, where we decode the emotions women rarely say out loud. If you want to understand what she feels before she even admits it to herself, subscribe now. Because once you see the psychology behind attraction, you can never unsee it. Now, listen carefully. When a woman is secretly in love with you, she doesn't announce it. She hides it in plain sight, not because she's playing games, but because love makes her vulnerable. And vulnerability is terrifying. She'll act normal, casual, controlled, but her behavior won't be. You'll notice the small things first. She remembers details you forgot you told her. The coffee you like, the story about your childhood, the way you said you hate being interrupted. That's not casual interest. That's emotional investment. A woman in love studies you the way people study something they're afraid to lose. Have you ever caught her staring at you when she thinks you're distracted? Not in a lustful way. Not hungry. Just soft. Like she's memorizing you. That's attachment forming. Here's what most men miss. When a woman falls for you, she doesn't become louder. She becomes deeper. She'll test you in subtle ways. She might tease you, pull away slightly, act busy. Not because she wants distance, but because she's measuring something invisible. She's asking herself, if I step back, will he step forward? This is dark psychology at its purest form. Attraction isn't just about closeness, it's about emotional risk. And the person secretly in love with you? They're constantly calculating how safe it is to feel this much. Think about this. Who gets slightly jealous but hides it under sarcasm? Who asks about other women in your life in a curious tone? Who pretends not to care, but their energy shifts when you mention someone else? Jealousy is never random. It's a mirror of attachment, and here's the twist that will shock you. It might be the woman whose name starts with a letter you've overlooked your entire life. The M, who feels too mature. The S, who seems too independent. The A, who acts like just a friend. You've categorized her incorrectly. Because when a woman loves quietly, she protects her pride. She will not beg for your attention. She will not confess dramatically. She will stay close enough to matter, but far enough to avoid humiliation. There's a reason she replies fast when you text, but never double texts. There's a reason she laughs harder at your jokes than anyone else. There's a reason she gets strangely silent when you open up about your fears. She feels responsible for your emotional world. Love for her isn't loud fireworks. It's silent loyalty. And here's something deeper. If she mirrors your body language unconsciously, if she tilts her head when you speak, if her voice lowers slightly around you, her nervous system feels safe with you. Safety is the birthplace of love. But here's where it becomes dangerous. The longer she hides it, the stronger it grows. Unexpressed emotion doesn't disappear. It intensifies. She starts imagining scenarios, futures, what ifs. And if you suddenly pull away without explanation, you won't see her cry. But you'll feel her disappear. Because when a woman loves in silence and feels rejected, she doesn't fight. She retreats completely. Now ask yourself, who would quietly break if you started treating them differently tomorrow? Who would pretend they're fine, but slowly remove themselves from your world? The first letter of her name is already in your mind. You just haven't admitted it yet. You feel it now, don't you? That name keeps echoing in your mind. You tried to replace it with someone else. but it keeps coming back. Because deep down, you already know. Let's go deeper. When a woman is secretly in love with you, her behavior becomes emotionally inconsistent, not because she's confused about you, but because she's fighting herself. One day she's warm, open, almost glowing around you. The next day she's distant, slightly guarded, measured. That shift isn't moodiness, it's fear. She's thinking, am I feeling too much? Watch how she reacts when you're vulnerable. If you casually mention you had a bad day, most people respond with surface-level sympathy. Oh, that sucks. Hope it gets better. But the woman who loves you? She leans in emotionally. Her tone softens. She asks follow-up questions. She wants details, because when a woman is in love, your pain feels personal to her, not dramatic, just deeply relevant. Now notice something even darker. If you suddenly become less available, she won't chase you aggressively. She'll observe. She'll mirror your energy. If you text slower, she texts slower. If you seem distracted, she acts busy. This is pride protecting attachment. A woman in silent love will never let you see how much power you have over her emotions. She would rather adjust herself than appear desperate. But there are cracks in the armor. Have you noticed how she reacts when you praise another woman? Not obvious jealousy, but a subtle change in breathing. A pause before responding. A smile that doesn't quite reach her eyes. Jealousy in a woman who loves quietly is quiet too. And here's something most men misunderstand. She doesn't want to own you. She wants to feel chosen. There's a difference. When she asks about your future plans, she's not just making conversation. She's subconsciously checking if she fits inside them. When she remembers the exact date you met. When she brings up an inside joke months later. When she references something you said casually once. That's emotional bookmarking. You are stored in her long-term memory. Now think carefully. Who defends you when you're not around? Who speaks highly of you in conversations you're not part of? Who subtly positions herself as supportive without making it obvious? A woman in love invests in your reputation. Because if she chooses you in her heart, she wants the world to see your value too. And here's the psychological shift that confirms it's her. She reacts differently to your silence than everyone else. If you disappear for a few days, most people move on. She doesn't. She replays conversations. She wonders what changed. She debates whether to reach out, then stops herself. Because loving silently is a constant war between ego and emotion. Her ego says, if he wanted to, he would. Her heart says, but what if he's just overwhelmed? And she sits in that tension, quietly. Now let's talk about physical proximity. When you're in a group, does she somehow end up near you? Not obviously glued to you, just orbiting. Love creates gravitational pull, even if she pretends not to care. And here's the final confirmation in this part. When you succeed, she celebrates harder than she should. Not performative excitement, genuine pride. Because when a woman loves you, your growth feels like shared progress. She sees your potential almost obsessively. She pushes you subtly, encourages you, challenges you, not to control you, but because she imagines a future version of you. And she wants to stand beside it. So now I'll ask you something deeper. If you removed yourself from her life tomorrow, no explanation, no closure, would she be slightly disappointed or quietly devastated? There's your answer. Now it gets dangerous, because the final signs, they're not in what she says, they're in what she can't control. A woman can manage her words, she can regulate her responses, she can pretend she's neutral, but her nervous system will always betray her. When she's secretly in love with you, her body reacts before her pride can intervene. Watch her eyes. When you're speaking in a group, does she scan your face for reactions? When you laugh, does she instinctively look at you to see if you're laughing too? That's emotional alignment. She cares about how you experience the world because your perception matters to her. Now here's something even deeper. When you touch her, even casually, does she pause for a microsecond longer than necessary? Not dramatic, not theatrical, just a slight delay before pulling away. That hesitation isn't physical attraction alone. It's emotional electricity. Her body is processing you as someone significant, and here's where it becomes undeniable. When you open up about your fears, your doubts, your insecurities, does she go quiet? Not bored quiet, heavy quiet. Because in that moment, she's realizing you're human, and that realization deepens attachment. A woman in love doesn't just admire your strength, she feels protective over your vulnerability. Now think about conflict. Have you ever disagreed? And instead of walking away easily, she stayed engaged. She tries to explain herself more carefully. She worries about being misunderstood. Indifference walks away fast. Love tries to repair. Even if she pretends she's done, if she comes back to clarify, to smooth things over, to make sure you're not upset, that's investment. Now, let's talk about absence. If you intentionally shift your attention elsewhere, focus on your goals, your work, your growth, what does she do? Does she elevate herself too? Women in love often compete silently with your potential, not against you, but against the fear of losing relevance in your world. She'll improve herself, glow up, become more interesting, because deep down, she wants to remain irreplaceable. And here's the final emotional tell she cannot hide. When she thinks she's losing you, her composure cracks, not dramatically, but subtly. Her responses become shorter. Her tone becomes fragile. Her usual confidence flickers. Because the idea of you emotionally disconnecting triggers her deepest fear, abandonment. A woman who doesn't care shrugs. A woman in love recalculates her entire emotional strategy. Now close your eyes for a second. Picture the woman whose first letter has been lingering in your mind since part 1. Imagine telling her you're moving away, or that you've met someone new. Whose face changes first? Whose silence feels heavier than words? That's her. Not the loud flirt, not the obvious admirer, the quiet one. The one who would rather lose you silently than beg for you openly. And here's the truth most men never realize until it's too late. Silent love is the deepest kind, because it's chosen every day without validation. So the real question isn't whether someone is in love with you. It's whether you're aware enough to see her before she decides to protect her heart and disappear. Here's what most men don't understand until it's already over. A woman who loves you silently will endure confusion. She will endure mixed signals. She will even endure your emotional immaturity for a while. But she will not endure feeling unchosen forever. When you ignore the signs, when you treat her attention like it's guaranteed, when you assume she'll always be there, something shifts inside her, not loudly, quietly. And that's the most dangerous shift of all. Because when a woman decides to detach, she doesn't announce it, she doesn't fight for closure, she doesn't beg for clarity. She goes cold in layers. First, she stops asking about your day. Then she stops sharing details about hers. Then she stops reacting. The warmth fades. The softness disappears. The emotional availability you once felt becomes neutral. And you'll think she's just busy, until one day you realize she no longer looks at you the same way. That gravitational pull? Gone. That quiet jealousy? Replaced with indifference. That subtle orbiting around you? Broken. And here's the psychological truth that stings. She didn't stop loving you overnight. She stopped hoping. There's a difference. When hope dies, attachment follows. You see, a woman can survive loving you in silence. What she cannot survive is loving you while feeling invisible. So if the letter in your mind, that M, that S, that A, or whatever it is, belongs to someone who has been consistently present, consistently supportive, consistently emotionally tuned in, you have two choices: Continue pretending you don't see it. Or acknowledge it before her pride forces her to rewrite her feelings as just a phase. Because once she convinces herself she deserves someone more emotionally certain, she will become unreachable. And the cruel irony? That's when most men wake up. When she no longer reacts. When she no longer waits. When she no longer feels available. That's when you'll replay every subtle sign you ignored. The soft glances, the protective questions, the emotional loyalty she gave you without a label, and you'll realize the one who loved you the deepest, loved you the quietest. So pay attention, not to who wants you loudly, but to who values you silently. Because in the world of female psychology, the woman who hides her love is often the one who feels it the most. And once she closes that door, it doesn't reopen easily. If this opened your eyes, make sure you're subscribed to Female Code Unlocked, because the more you understand her unspoken emotions, the more intentional you become with the women who choose you quietly. And tell me in the comments, what's the first letter that came to your mind?